we've come up to the top of the hour, and I'd like to introduce you to our webinar, which is all about making customers' lives easier. I think an absolute fascinating topic, and I think one that has really tied into the whole approach of the customer effort score, which we'll come into a short while, but seems to be one of the metrics that is becoming a lot more popular as we move forward. So I'd like to introduce you to our two speakers. I'd like to introduce you initially to Jerry Brown, the Customer Life Guide, who's spoken on a couple of our webinars now. Jerry, if you'd like to introduce yourself and highlight what you'll be talking through today.
Sure. Thank you, John. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be. You'll note that I'm probably not from around these parts, but interestingly enough, despite the way I sound, I was born in the UK. I've spent half my life in Canada, half my life here. So I have a pretty good view of customer service in a number of different places. And Canada was recently voted #2 in customer service by Zendesk, which is a software product that does a lot of those things. And also, interestingly enough, the US was 14 and UK was 15. So there's a little bit of work to do. So the work that I do is really helping organizations, and some of the comments I was making, helping organizations understand where their customer service and customer experience is perhaps not really working the way it should, figuring out what we can do to help that, and then, because I've had a fairly extensive background in technology, figuring out what the enabling technology is for that. I'm not aligned with any particular technology, but I'm familiar with most of the things that are out there, and so really I look to see how we can bring together the things that I guess we've been talking about, the strategic side and the technology side, to make a successful customer experience and deliver a great customer service for our customers. And about today, really what I'm looking at is this whole concept of making it easy, and we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay, wonderful. And also delighted to introduce to you Sarah Barrow from LiveOps. Sarah, this isn't your first webinar with us. You joined us about 3 years ago, and you were telling us about your experience at Wokingham Council when you were looking at, or you had deployed Homeworking, one of the first organisations in the UK to do that. But you've moved on since then. Do you want to sort of highlight what you're going to be talking through and the company you're working for?
Yes. Hello, everybody. And as John just said, my name is Sarah Barrow. I'm the Director of Customer Success at LiveOps. And I used to, in a previous life, run contact centres, both in the public sector and private sector. So I've got a good experience of sort of managing on a day-to-day the operational side, and obviously looking after your agents and the customers. But what I'm going to be talking about today is really how technology can help enable that for you. So how can we use today's technology to make your lives easier as well as your customers' lives easier?
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. We're looking very much forward to that again. And the discussion this week is in our chat room, callcenterhelper.com/chat. And if you'd like to log in, and you can leave your tips there, if you use hashtag tip for a tip and hash question for a question. And I will be asking Jerry if after the webinar he could pick the winning tip from today's webinar, who will win either a bottle of champagne or a box of chocolates, your choice on that one. So just also to a bit of housekeeping, if you'd like to download a copy of the slides, you can do that from within the chat room. It's this link here on the bottom of the, on the top of the screen. Click on that, you can download the slides from there. And if you'd like a transcript of the chat log, you can just click on this little filing tray icon, and at the end of the webinar you can download that. You can watch a replay. I know a lot of you do like to share these with your team and with your management team. That's at callcenterhelper.com/recorded webinars later on this afternoon. But I'd like to start off with a poll, and I'd like to ask the question of the audience: do you believe that automation will make life easier for our customers? So the answers are yes, no, or maybe. So do you think automation will make life easier for our customers. Jerry, do you think what do you predict the audience will be voting?
Well, I'll get off the fence on this one and say yes, but with a proviso that it's got to be automation that actually does make life easier for them and not just make life easier for the company. So I think it does. I think we've seen it where things have been deployed well. Yes, it does. Okay,
well, let's have a look and see if your prediction has come to life there. And here's the results. So it is 48% have said yes, 40% maybe, and 12% no. So I think there's a bit of a dichotomy there. So there seems to be an awful lot of maybes there.
More people on the fence.
Yeah, I think perhaps that's because it depends on the sector, and there's certain sectors. I'm just going back to my sort of public sector hat, where certain customers would find automation very difficult. You've got customers that may have a disability, find that very difficult to use, or other people who are an aging population who find automation very difficult to use, very confusing. So I think it really does depend on which sector you're in and what you're automating. So there's certain easy processes that can be automated, but if you're looking at a complex scenario that might have a number of different variables, then automation can be quite difficult. So I think that's probably where the maybes are coming from.
Okay, well, I'd like to drill down on those answers now and say, what has been your experience of self-service? So if you'd like to go to the chat room and share what has been your experience of self-service. Let's have a look at some of the things. Kelly said it will make the customers' lives easier if it is designed for the customers, not for the organization. There has to be a way for the customer to opt out of automation. And I guess that's an interesting one, because when cash machines came in, they weren't designed to save money. They were actually designed to extend hours. Glendon has said maybe, because there is a lot of automation that's used in unsuitable circumstances. It needs to be used in simple, clear-cut scenarios only. Leisha said it's fantastic for certain processes, however, not all aspects of the services that a company provides. Eric said very poorly executed, and a lot of time is his experience, and a lot of times, you said, it often seems to be more serving the company than the customer. Glendon has said he's found it's often very frustrating. Mitch has said you have to keep your client age group in mind. Sarah, I guess that was a similar comment that you were talking about, as elder pet people tend to struggle, especially with online. Gemma says, in my experience, organizations very rarely get it right. When they do, it is often quite effortless. So it seems, Jerry, there's a bit of a split there, that people think it could be better, it could be done, but in many cases it could be done better, or it's done for the wrong motivation. What's your thought on that?
Well, I think that's exactly where I was heading with that, is that it really aligns to what we were talking about with customer service and whether automation is going to improve it. I think clearly what a lot of people are probably talking about is IVR. This is the thing that's frustrated most of us for many, many years. And I think it's frustrating for us on the inside of the business, if you will, because we know that it doesn't have to be as difficult as many organizations make it. IVR has moved on a long way. My background in IVR goes back to the 90s. I mean, it's almost over 25 years. And the quality and the systems have improved dramatically, but frankly, a lot of the menus and the way they're designed haven't. And I think this is at the heart of the frustration. It's clearly, in many cases, as people have pointed out, it's done for the benefit of the company, it's done for the benefit of call avoidance, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with call avoidance as long as you replace it with something that is better, and or you have the people in place that can support the customer if they run into trouble. And this is what quite often happens. You get into an IVR, you struggle, you get through to the company, and they know absolutely nothing about what you've been going through. At minimum, you need to be able to have that, and I'll talk a little bit about this in the session, but have that ability to know where they've been, what has happened, what the problem is, and what you need to do to solve it.
Indeed. So I think that's probably a good point to which to hand across to Jerry, the customer lifeguard. And Jerry, if I pass the baton across to you, if you'd like to share your thoughts on how we can make life easier for customers.
Thank you, Jonty. I'll do that. Let me just back up here a little bit, and we'll get to the right place. And here we go. Okay. What's interesting, I think, about this and some of the other things we've already talked about, that is it's not easy to make it easy. I think, you know, no one is going to disagree.
Jerry, we're not seeing your screen coming up. If you could just like to press the share my screen button.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I can see it.
Okay.
Got it now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fabulous. Okay. All right, I'll just rewind momentarily. So as I was saying, it's the concept of making it easy is something that no one's going to disagree with, any more than people are going to disagree with, you know, whether is customer service a good thing. But it's making it easy is just one of those things that people have really struggled with. And I think we have to kind of understand what is easy. That sounds like a bit of a semantic question, but as we did with automation, it's different things to different people. What are the roadblocks? We're going to talk about some of those as we go through this and some of the things that people run into. How do we deliver this effortless experience that people are talking about? And then what does that look and feel like? So these are the things I want to touch on as I go through my presentation, and certainly I know that Sarah will also be giving us some ideas about how we can do that. So what is the big easy? And when you think about it, is this something that's just happened? Well, actually, it's not. Research started into the whole concept of whether or not making things easy for people was a good idea way back in the 1940s. So it's not something that's really just started. But it was really an article in Harvard Business Review in 2010 called Stop Trying to Delight Your Customers that I think really kick-started this. It was clearly a very controversial title, and the authors were really obviously trying to get somebody to respond, which of course they did. As a result of that, a book came out called The Effortless Experience, which I think is a really good book that helps explain why we should be making it easy for customers. And that has spurred another debate between, well, how should we measure it? Should it be customer effort scores? Should it be net promoter scores or CSAT? Or should we be using all three of them? And so what we're seeing is people looking at this and saying, well, you know, my net promoter scores are down, or my CSAT is not good, whatever it happens to be, and perhaps they need to look at customer effort to see why those things are happening. And so many companies are still struggling to get it, really struggling to understand what this easy thing is, even though we think it should be relatively straightforward. And what happens sometimes, and this is sort of like what happens with the technology discussion, making it easy gets put in the too hard or too expensive drawer. Rather than actually looking at what it is, people just go, well, you know, let's just keep doing what we're doing, and away we go. So I wanted to keep this this theme of making it easy for the audience question at this point. So let's ask our audience a question, because I want to get a sense of what they've already tried, because, as I said, it's not always as easy as we think. So what have you tried to make customers' lives easier? What kinds of things have you done? So we can start getting some feedback from our audience. I guess you'll see as it starts to come in, Jonty.
Yeah, so the question of the audience is, what have you tried already to do to make customers' lives easier? So have you simplified processes? Have you brought in automation? Have you done training? Have you done customer journey mapping? What have you done already to make customers' lives easier? So we've got a few of the answers starting to flow in. Carly has said, we have an external knowledge base to allow them to try and answer their own query before having to call. Catherine has said we've used online tools to book certain services. Michael said auto callbacks when people are queuing. Jennifer has said they use automation around self-service. Christine has said USSD. I'm not sure what USSD is, so Christine, if you could enlighten us on that would be useful. But self-service on the website. Gemma said promoting self-service where it's relevant and applicable to that customer and their journey. And Alicia says they've also implemented self-service. So Jerry, looks like self-service is quite popular. Online tools, knowledge base, automating callbacks to improve queuing are some of the answers we've got coming through, and we can jump back to that in a short while. Back to you, Jerry.
Because actually some of the things that I will be talking about do touch on some of those things, so I'm pleased that there are people that actually might think some of the things I've got are also working for them as well. So let's keep the film theme going with 5 easy pieces. And what I mean by this is here's 5 broad areas that I think are important, and I think we've heard from some of the people already in some of these things that they're already talking about. We've got to make it easy to contact us. Now, what that means is really how we put ourselves out to people to make sure we can be contacted or they can contact us whenever we need that, and I'll get into that in a minute. We've got to make it easy to talk to us. Now, I'm not going to say that they're the same thing. Contacting you and then talking to you are 2 different things, and I think this is where some of the challenges come with self-service. It doesn't always work the way we want. It's got to be easy to change, and I mean change anything. We'll talk about some of the things that people need to do, and it's back to what some of these people were saying. Some of the things that you do online through self-service are perfect if you want to change details or something like that. Others may not be as good, but at least give people the capability of doing whatever they want. The 4th thing is make it easy to save time, because this is really the thing that I find is most frustrating as a customer. The one thing you don't get any refunds on is time. You can have a bad experience and then give you your money back, but there's no refunds on time. So if you spend 15 minutes on a phone call or 15 minutes online trying to do something and it doesn't work out, you don't get that time back. And then lastly, make it easy to get close up and personal. One of the things that people are realizing is that as they get to know their customers better, and this is a really important part of making it easy, they can then begin to structure their discussion, structure their approach, and those conversations can be much more relevant if they're able to do that, rather than just having a very generic approach and treating everyone the same. I think we know everyone's not the same. Unfortunately, many people in the contact center world still treat people like they're all the same. So let's have a look at that first one. Easy to contact. So what does that mean? Well, it means that any issue, if I've got anything that I need to deal with, I should be able to contact you and get it resolved. Sounds obvious? Well, guess what? More often than not, you'll call in, you'll talk to someone and say, well, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. You'll have to do this, or you'll have to send us an email, or you'll have to write us a letter. I mean, some really silly stuff. You should be able to handle any issue in the contact center. Now, I'm not saying you'll resolve it that moment. I know that first contact resolution is important to people, but you should be in a position to deal with it in a way that the customer feels some satisfaction and says, okay, I know you've got it under control, and if you have to go back to them at a certain point, that's fine. But at least be in a position to do it. And it should be any device or channel. We hear this whole multi-channel or omni-channel piece about, oh yes, any device, any channel, make it easy for customers. Many organizations aren't set up, or at worst, they have these in silos. So you may send something to them by email, or you may have a chat, or you may have an SMS exchange. If those things aren't tied up, then somebody answering a phone call about an email doesn't have access to it. Unfortunately, that's not going to be very successful, so that won't be easy. That person will have to tell them all of the information all over again. Anytime, you should be able to do this. If you choose to do this at 3 o'clock in the morning and you haven't got anything better to do, well, so be it. But so many, especially, we're seeing this with social. People are saying social is so important and it's really critical. Most of the social media departments close down at 6 o'clock or maybe at 9 o'clock. Well, you know, if I want to tweet and I want to get something back, and people recognizing now how important it is to get on top of these things early, they should be able to do that at any time. And with our multi-skilled contact centers and with our open all hours things, there's no reason this can't be done. So it's important to be available whenever a customer wants you. Anywhere. You should be able to do this in a store. If you bought something online, you should be able to go and ask a question about it in store. How many times have we gone through that? We bought something, we go to the store and say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. You're going to have to go online to do it. How frustrating is that? It's certainly not easy. Or the reverse, where you've got it in the store, you call them and they say, no, I'm sorry, we can't do anything. You've got to take it back to the store. Stuff like this just drives people crazy. And then lastly, anybody, meaning that you should be able to have anyone deal with your inquiry. Again, it may be that the first person you talk to can't absolutely knock you dead, but they've got to be in a position to say, Mr. Brown, leave that with me. I'm going to talk to my colleague in whatever department, and I will come back to you. So they've taken responsibility. They've taken ownership. They may not be able to fix it, but it's not down to you to call somebody else or to be transferred. Anybody in that organization should be able to take responsibility and do that. So those are the things that I think need to happen in the easy to contact era. And I think, you know, if we ask people how many of those things are being done, I think we'll find, you know, a lot of them aren't being done at this particular point. So easy to talk to. I said it was different from easy to contact. Well, easy to talk to means that you should be able to contact the organization without spending your money. There are still many companies, despite the fact that customer service was supposed to stop using 0845s or 0870, 0871 numbers last year actually. Many of them still aren't. I'm still seeing organizations with 0871 13p a minute for customer service. Not only is it fundamentally wrong, it's illegal. And this kind of stuff has just got to stop. So making it easy for people to talk to. We're now seeing 0800 now is included in, I think most mobile carriers have that now. So we can make that, we can extend that. If you're on your mobile, you don't get charged for an 0800 call. Click to call via smartphone. Again, think about all of the omni-channel, multi-channel presentations you've seen where they show you these fabulous demos where you're on your smartphone, you've just placed an order, and you decide you want to do something else. And you go, oh, I'll just click. Well, find out how many places that works. I did a test with my own applications on my smartphone. And this includes airlines, hotel chains, banks, utility companies, telcos, etc. There wasn't one that I could go to the help screen on my smartphone, hit a click button, and go right through and be recognized. Most of the time, they just presented a list of phone numbers. So no one's going to know it's me. No one's going to know what's going on. No one has any context. This is absolutely critical stuff. If you want people to use smartphones, and we're hearing that there are more smartphones on the world than there are grains of sand, well, you know, you need to make it easier for people, and they're not. It's just not happening right. See me, feel me, touch me. So when, you know, the WHO did this, I'm not sure they were thinking of contact centers, but you know who I am. It comes back to my earlier point. You absolutely have to make sure that when I call you, you know who I am. Now, if we haven't had any interaction, yes, fair enough, that's a little harder. But certainly, if I go on my smartphone and I authenticate by logging into the app, that information must be sent through to you so that you know who I am. Because again, that's where you get a much quicker, faster, smoother, more personal interaction with the organization. Anticipate my needs. Be proactive. There's a interestingly enough. There's a number of programs I'm seeing out there now, or solutions out there now that are using data. We're hearing so much about smart big data. Using data to make sure that when somebody contacts you, whether it's online, whether it's on the phone, it doesn't matter which way, you have far more relevant, personalized information about that person to be able to target them with specific offers, or at minimum be proactive in what they may want. So this is important stuff. Again, it will save you time as an organization, it will certainly save the customer time, and it will make them feel better. This is where customer service does make a difference, when you provide the advisor or the agent with the information they need to be that anticipatory and to be proactive. And then lastly, make me feel glad that I did. Have you called people where you've had a problem online and they've said, well, I'm not really responsible for that, but I'll try and help you? You know, it's one of the things that Sarah mentioned earlier. If you've got people in your contact center that are doing things grudgingly, it'll never be an easy experience, because they'll plodding through. They don't want to help you. You have to make them glad, even if it's simple online. Maybe it's not simple for everybody. So make me feel glad that I called you. Make me feel welcome. And that will make it, again, a much easier, more enjoyable experience. Okay, so here's an audience poll coming up. We've thrown a few things out there about make it easy to contact, make it easy to talk to. So, Jonty, perhaps we'll ask the audience, what is stopping you from delivering that kind of experience, or that kind of making it easy for people? What are the things that are getting in the way?
So the question we have is, what is it stopping you from making it easier for customers? So if you'd like to, say, perhaps put the two top answers on here. Is it people? Is it processes in your contact center or your organization? Is it technology? Is it lack of management buy-in? Is it budget that is holding you back? So if you'd just like to say, what is it that's stopping you from making it easier for your customers in your organization? If you'd just like to vote on that. And I think the answers are going to be quite interesting. So let's have a look at the answers. I think we've got everyone in now. So quite fascinating, Jerry. 55% say technology, and Sarah, I know you're going to be talking through that in a short while. Followed by 47% people say it's budget. 45% of people it's processes. What seems quite interesting is only 19% say it's management buy-in, though I guess management buy-in and budget might go quite close in hand. And it doesn't seem to be our people that is the issue. It seems to be the process, the technology, and just getting budget for making changes. Jerry, any surprises there?
Not at all. I think it really, the thing about people is just what I've said. Most of the people in the contact center really want to make a difference. They really do care. It's not them, and so that's what they run into. They run into these, they run into these issues with procedural things where the policy is to do this, and even though they know that's not necessarily the right thing to do, they're not able to do it. And the technology, of course, that gets in the way. A number of organizations that I work with quite often have to log into different systems for different things. And when you've got to log into 10, 12, I've seen as many as 15 or 20 different systems to interact with customers, that really isn't easy for them, and by extension, it's not easy for the customer. So no, I'm not surprised at all.
So do you want to take us back through your next section?
Okay, so let's talk about easy to change. And again, this kind of refers a little bit to what we've already been talking about. I want to update my contact details. Well, I moved not so long ago, and I can't tell you how many companies didn't make it easy. I went online to say, right, I'll do it. I don't mind doing this. There's no point in me making a phone call to change my address. So I went online to try and do this. And it's amazing how many companies either made it very hard. In some cases, I finally found out how to get to my profile and make the changes. Or some you couldn't do it at all. One of them, and I'm more than happy to name and shame them, is the Times Online. And I went to try and change my address because they wouldn't let me. So they were much happier with me calling them, taking their time, taking their agent's time, costing them money on this wasn't an 0800 number, to do that. How crazy is this? And this is a simple example of what you can do. And for most organizations, this is pretty simple stuff. The technology to do this is there. There's nothing. You don't need any budget for this one. This is real easy. But it would be interesting for organizations to track how much time it took them for people to change their contact. I want to change my credit card. This is, again, it's important stuff, and I realize there's some security stuff involved here. I don't want anyone to get in there and do it. But you know how frustrating it is if you get a new credit card and you forget to change it with one or more of your suppliers. The next thing you know, you go to order it, and they say, sorry, we can't get it authorized because you've got an older card with an older date. I want to be able to do this. Yes, if you want to get it a bit more in security, by all means do it, but at least allow me to do this kind of stuff. I want to add or delete items on an order. Many of the order systems now actually are working pretty well, in which things get picked quite quickly. But one of the key people that do this quite well are in the grocery side of things. If you order from Ocado, if you order from Waitrose, somebody like that, quite often they will give you a specific time frame in which to be able to make changes to your order. Well, as long as I know that, that's fine. If I've got 24 hours or 12 hours before my order's due, great. I want to be able to go in. I want to make some changes, and I don't want to be told, oh no, you can't do it. You have to call the call center, whatever it happens to be. Make it easy for me to do this kind of stuff. Guess what? I might buy some more. Who knows? And then sales will go up. I want to be able to provide positive alternative options. A good example of this is an organization in Canada that I know quite well that handles the frequent flyer program for Air Canada called Aeroplan. And one of the things with the great frustration for frequent flyer programs is that people can't get the dates they want. And so rather than disappointing people, if someone calls in and says, you know, I want to go from Toronto to Vancouver on a certain date, rather than saying right away it's not available, what they look to do is to get to know a bit more about the customer, what they're going for, and so on, and being able to turn it around and be able to say, you know, maybe you should take an extra day, enjoy the, have you been there before, etc. And giving them options which they can meet. So if they can't go on this date, you could go the day before, they might suggest, you know, here's a chance to go enjoy the city for a while, go a little bit earlier. It's about not, we can't always say yes. There's going to be computer says no issues. It's how you say no, or it's how you provide alternative options. And then change my mind, return product. You know, I find that this is, and I know it is for many retailers, this is one of the biggest issues for them, the cost of return products and how you handle it. Another great experience I've had with a company is Charles Tyrwhitt. I buy a lot of my shirts and have done for many years from Charles Tyrwhitt. When I get a shirt from Charles Tyrwhitt, I get a nice package. It's got a return goods thing already in there. It says if you're unhappy with your shirt and I can wear my shirt for 90 days, I can wash it, I can do whatever I want with it, and then I can send it back. And they'll accept it. I don't have to do anything other than that. I don't have to call them. I don't have to get permission. And they realize that it's much better to do that than to make the odd, because all they're trying to do is catch the people who they're trying to take them out. But if they can do that and they can provide a way of making it very easy, guess what? People are still going to return products, but it takes their cost down dramatically. And the feeling that you get, quite often on that, and I've actually ordered another shirt. So the bottom line is it saves them time, it saves the customer time, and it probably provides a much better experience. Easy to save time, and this sort of comes into the same thing, and we've heard some people already talk about providing intuitive, and I mean easy, self-service options. Again, if this is IVR, you don't want a huge menu. You want a pretty simple menu, whether it's voice or if it's touch tone, making it easy for people to do that. Or the same thing online. If you know, I want to be able to find things easily. Often people use very cryptic terms for things, their own terms, and as a result, people don't use self-service. They call the call center, and it just increases everyone's cost and everyone's frustration. Make information knowledge easy to find. Somebody mentioned online or knowledge base for customers. Absolutely. And I'm not just talking about static FAQs. I'm talking about a knowledge base that grows and learns as people ask questions. And certainly a lot of this is being done now through forums, and we're seeing much more of that where organizations are opening up forums, which is a great way to do it, sharing information among customers. Reduce personal information repetition and transfers. What I mentioned earlier about the ability for you to click to call when you're on a smartphone because you've already logged in or effectively authenticated, then this is the same thing with almost anything. I mean, if you've already input this information, I'm sure we've told this tale many times, how we've been prompted for our account number or whatever it is. We get through to the agent and they say, can you give me your account number? And then what they tell us, of course, is what is for data protection. Well, that's rubbish. It's just that perhaps the system isn't working. Oh, guess what? Technology. And really, they don't have that information. And then they transfer you, and of course they do a code transfer, so you get put in a queue, and then you're just talking to somebody else, and they help, and they haven't got any of the context. And that is very frustrating, and of course takes a lot more time than necessary for everybody. Eliminate repeat contacts. You don't want to do this, but the way to do this is really talking about being a little proactive, as I mentioned earlier, and being able to think about what also the customer might want to do. So quite often at the end of a call, the agent will say, is there anything else I can help you with? And if you don't think of anything, you'll say, no, that was great, and away I go. And then 5 minutes later, I think, oh, I should have asked them about this. Having advisors, agents trained in ways that they might want to ask one more question. It might be 2 questions, but you've just set up a new mobile phone. You've just set up a new mobile phone account. You might say, well, you know, are you familiar with how we do this? Do you know about that? Well, you know, something like that. Then the customer doesn't have to call back and go through the whole thing all over again. So being able to do this is just, again, ways of saving time. And then show me how to do it better or faster. Now, if I can do this online and I haven't been able to, again, I don't want you to do it in a way that makes me feel silly or old. I do happen to be old, as you can see from what's on the screen, but Fortunately, I've been doing this for long enough that I can fool people. So the point is that if you've got a way that I can do this online and I can, or whatever it is, that I can do it better and faster, I'm happy to do it, but just help me through it. Be kind, be patient, and then if you do that, guess what? It'll make me feel good. It'll make me do it next time. It'll feel like that was easy. So, you know, these are some of the areas that in terms of saving time. The last area really is what I call easy to get close. And we want to talk about building rapport authentically. You know when people, when an advisor is, is really wants to help you and is not, not just reading from a script. So this whole idea of getting up close and personal and really building that relationship, it's got to be done authentically. Again, you think that's obvious, but quite often it's hard to do. The advisors, toggling between screens, they're doing all this kind of stuff. But if they can, authentic way in which you really feel like you've got through to the right person, it really does feel like a much easier experience. Make it personal. Show me you care. Understand. Use my name. I don't care what you call me. You can call me Jerry. You can call me. I'm not precious about that. But at least show me that you recognize who I am and some of the challenges I've had. If I've had a difficult time, if I call you and say, I'm trying to do this stuff online. I don't know what's going on. It's really hard. All I want you to do is say, Mr. Brown, no problem. Let me see if I can help you get through with that. Not something that somehow implies that I'm stupid. So really make it personal for me. Show me that you care. And know when to delight. I talked earlier about this debate going on, or the article that spurned this whole thing about whether you should be trying to delight customers. When we talk about customer experience, we tend to talk about those organizations such as John Lewis, such as First Direct, Zappos, etc., with these wonderful tales of how they've done, wonderful things for their customers and delighted them. And of course, the corollary to that is to saying, well, make it easy and not you don't have to delight people, but sometimes you do. And if an advisor knows when to delight and is empowered and engaged to do it, well, it changes the whole thing. Because every now and then, you know what, you are going to have to delight me. If you screwed up and you can show me that you understand that, are prepared to do something, it'll make all the difference in the world. And then lastly, advocacy and loyalty come naturally. One of the things about making it easy is that people looked at this whole delight thing and said, actually, delighting customers doesn't necessarily make them more loyal. And I think there's some fairly good research been done into this. I'm not going to go into that today, but I think the fact is that if you look at making it easy for someone, it will be a delightful experience. People will share that. Think how many times you've had discussions with people and they've said, I had this call with so-and-so. It was really great. This person did this. And it's the advocacy that makes a difference. We were talking earlier about customer service. This is what makes a difference. So these things start to come along naturally. So those are my 5 easy pieces. So hopefully they hit some nerves with people, or not nerves, but some soft spots. And I wanted to thank you for listening.
Oh, John T, you're still on mute.
Thank you very much for that, Jerry. There's a great overview, very comprehensive run-through of all the ways that we can do to make life easier within the contact center. I think that's absolutely fabulous. We're going to have a look now at the chat room, and we're going to see some of the tips and comments that are coming through. Christine, we asked what USSD was, which is apparently the functionality to be able to use a shortcode, e.g. *120 *321 hash on your cell phone to check a balance or use self-service options. So that sounds very powerful, though probably quite difficult to remember that sequence. Let's have a look at a few of the tips. Alicia has said, customers don't buy products or services, they buy good feelings and solutions to a problem, which I think is very appropriate. And Christine has said, adopt, I think if I pronounce this right, a Kaizen or Kaizen mindset or similar. And that is where you include the feedback from agents to make low or no cost improvement in your contact center. They often have some very good workarounds that management is not aware of. Agents also don't raise these solutions as there is no formal process to do it. I mean, that, Jerry, strikes me as an excellent idea and one that doesn't cost a great deal of money.
Absolutely, and it comes back to this whole concept of involving and engaging with your advisors and agents with any of this stuff. And it's just a lot of this stuff doesn't happen. So they will be able to tell you the things that I talked about. They will be able to tell you whether that's working or not, and they can take some tremendous stuff back. I did a great workshop with an organization last week where we got so much stuff that came out of it as to what was holding them back from delivering this great experience, that it's absolutely invaluable, and encouraging them and getting them to do it. They'll love to do it. Nobody has a problem with it, and you'll learn, as they said, that you'll learn things that you didn't know. And quite often agents will help customers get around it, and sometimes they might do it without letting on know because they've tried to raise it. Someone said, no, we can't do that, and they said, well, the heck with it, I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah, and Sarah, here's an interest. When a previous company I worked for informed their customers on their website what the current call queue time is with the contact center. A bit tough to see if the call queues are high, but it allows a customer to make their decision on whether to call now or not. I thought that's quite an interesting approach. Sarah, what's your thought?
It is, but if they were already on the website, then it would have been better to allow them to self-serve from the website, or web chat, probably a better option than calling in if they're already on the website. So I'm not sure how many people would then phone, but yes, it's a good option. But providing you gave those options and said, well, actually, phones are very busy, but why don't you web chat with us?
That's a good point. Christine says, well thought out call flows can make the IVR experience a positive one. Interesting. Alistair says self-service is crucial in allowing your customers to have quick and easy access to their account and profile. Quick and easy changes to account info, payment options, features and value adds is part of the current generational demand and will increase over the next few years. I think that ties in, Jerry, to your make it easy to change details, and I'm amazed on some websites. I was looking at changing some details on a pension website yesterday, and effectively I had to write into them to make what was actually quite a simple change. Julia said, here's a tip: train the frontline service consultants to have more autonomy and empowerment to resolve customer issues, helping remove the need to escalate, thereby saving the customer time and achieving first contact resolution. Jerry, that was very much tied in with your point. And here's an interesting audience question. Do you think, in line with making things easier for customers, we should also be focusing on making it easier for employees also? Jerry, do you think employee effort is linked to customer effort?
Absolutely. It comes back to what Sarah was saying, that your advisors and agents can be frustrated if it isn't easy for them, if they have to log into many different systems, if they have to go to different places to find an email or a chat or whatever it happens to be. Yes, absolutely. They're inextricably linked.
Excellent. Sarah, your thoughts?
Yes, I'm actually going to be talking about that shortly. So I really believe that we need to make it easy for our agents and our employees in general.
Okay, well, let's pick up a couple more. Rachel said predictive analytics will help in giving customers what they want. I guess that's perhaps more about predicting the next flow of the customer journey. And Alistair, to round off the section, I think ties in with your comment, Jerry, about the Times. Says, the Times example makes me think about how strange it is that so often the most basic inquiry or question must go via a contact centre. When will contact centres realise that most people will try to resolve their own query using the internet, an app, SMS, etc., and the last resort will be contacting the dreaded contact centre? Make simple query solution simple for your customer. Train your agents on complex issues so when customers do contact, a smooth resolution can be achieved. I guess that, Jerry, wraps up pretty well your whole presentation.
There you go. Somebody liked it.
Wonderful. Well, I think it's a good point now to hand across to Sarah and Sarah Barrow from LiveOps. And Sarah, you're going to be taking us through the ways that that technology can help improve or make customers' lives easier. So if I pass the baton across to you. That's right. We see your screen now.
Everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen now.
Indeed.
So we're going to look at whether technology assists us or hinders us. So, as Jerry said, it's not a new phenomenon. And actually, back in the day, Albert Einstein was saying that everything should be as simple as possible. But actually, it doesn't take a genius to tell us that with the range of technologies available to our customers, that at some point, they're actually going to want to use them. And so, as organizations, we need to be able to respond to that. And the customers will, it doesn't matter what technology they have, they want choice in the way in which they engage, but also when they engage. So it's about fitting the engagement around their lifestyle. So to give an example of that, somebody might be on a train to work and it's very noisy, so they might want to tweet the organization, they may want to send an SMS, but then they get into the office and actually they'll get on a web chat or send an email. But then in their spare time at lunchtime, they might think, well, do you know, I'm going to phone them. And then when they get home, they might want to either web chat again or go via the phone. So customers don't just stick to one form of communication. They swap channels, they channel hop all over the place. And so as an organization, we need to be responsive to that. And give them their Cinzano moment, for those people that remember it, which is anytime, any place, anywhere. But customers also work on the assumption, I think Jerry alluded to this earlier, that we know everything about them. So when we do engage with them, they're going to expect that we know when they last contacted us, what it was about, everything to do with their account, and also sometimes why they're actually ringing us in the first place. Although in my experience, I have had people that have rung and haven't actually known why they were ringing us, so you get that sometimes too. But today's customer is very well versed in sort of, they understand things a lot better, and they actually believe that they know more than the agent that's responding to them. And in fact, a poll showed that 70% of customers reckon that they actually know more than the contact center advisor. So it's really important that we give those contact center advisors every support that we can, and I think somebody mentioned this in the tips earlier, we've got to help our employees, because if we don't, we're going to make it very difficult for them. So actually, what's the reality in the companies out there at the moment? Well, a lot of companies will actually already be offering the different channels. So you can contact them by telephone or by web chat, email, social, or SMS and text. But actually the reality is that most companies are a real mess of siloed applications, in that none of these particular channels will speak to each other. So what you get is a complete disconnect from the customer's point of view. There's no single view of the customer, and they don't have an ability to for their agents to be informed about the customer via a CRM integration. To give you a good example, I made a booking earlier this week, and I had a phone call from the company about this particular booking, and they said to me, you need to pay a deposit, and I said, that's fine. I had booked online, so them phoning me was a bit strange, but then they said to me, what you need to do, we're going to email you a form, you need to print the form off, you need to then sign it with a black pen, you then need to scan it, and then you can email it back to us. Well, that wasn't exactly a very customer-friendly interaction, and that's a lot of effort from me as a customer, just for something that I'd already done originally online. So again, it's about saying, well, if your customer's chosen that channel to engage with you, if they're doing a booking online, let them complete that journey online, because actually the chances are they're very busy and that's what they want to do, and they don't, otherwise they would have phoned you in the first place. So a good example from my own experience of where I've received not terribly good customer service. So how can we empower our agents to provide that effortless customer service? Because all of this technology is actually making your agents' lives very, very difficult. And a lot of them will be feeling at the moment that they're pulling teeth. And it was interesting with the poll earlier that a lot of people felt that technology was the biggest barrier actually to good customer service in their own organisations. So what do we need to do to allow them to be able to provide this type of service? Well, the first thing is a unified agent desktop. So all of the interactions that are coming in, irrespective of channel, need to be being pulled into one single queue so that you can see exactly what's happening in your contact centre. And then we need to give the agents access to all of the customer interaction history. So whether it's a call, whether it's a web chat, whether it's an email, we're popping them information about that customer so they can personalise that interaction. And certainly from my own experience, if I feel that the agent that I'm dealing with, and I use web chat quite a lot, so I would expect the same sort of experience on a web chat, if I feel that they actually know about me as a customer and are able to help me and streamline that, then it's a much better interaction, and I'm more likely to either buy more from them or stay with them longer. We need to also give our agents a knowledge-based tool to help them have that information to respond to those customer inquiries. Because if they say, oh, well, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to ask somebody, I'm just going to pop you on hold and I'll ask my supervisor the answer, that's going to give a negative experience. You're already, your customer's going to be frustrated because, let's face it, do they really want to listen to Greensleeves yet again? They've already listened to it in the queue. They don't want to listen to it again by being put on hold. And then we need to integrate the CRM with the agent desktop so that they're able to put all of the information around that interaction directly into the CRM. So they're not duplicating effort, not trying to cut and paste the information about that customer into two separate systems, which causes frustration, which takes time and frustrates the customer because a lot of the time it's the same information they've already provided on their last interaction with you. The other thing is we need to make it easy for the agents to move from one channel to another within the same interface. So, for example, if they're on the phone to you and actually you've booked for a repairman to come out, wouldn't it be nice actually from that same agent interface to be able to send the customer an SMS to say, this is when your appointment's due. So to be able to do that while you're actually on the phone with the customer is a great ability for the agent. It saves time, and guess what? Your customer experience has just suddenly shot through the roof because there they are on the phone with you, their mobile phone pings, and they've got a text to say your appointment is on this date with this particular engineer. So that's about providing that great experience but making it effortless for the agent at the same time. So technology can be used to enable the agents to deal with those interactions seamlessly. So just looking at one of those sort of customer interfaces, here we have all of the customer interactions up the top in a virtual queue. They can see exactly what's in there. And then when the interaction comes in, it pops them the customer's record. They can see what the customer looks like, even if they've got a photograph, but they've got all of the customer's information. It's popped through from their CRM, so they've got all of the previous orders that their customer may have placed, and the history of any complaints, any other issues that they may have faced, and any other interactions that they may have. It could even show other things that they've got in the queue. So, for example, if there's an unread email from this customer, that can also be popped to show that the customer's ringing because they didn't get a response to their email, for example. And all of the different channels can be loaded in one application, so you've got everything in front of you. And you can toggle from the different channels from one to another while you're still on one interaction. So it's actually about saying, let's do everything from this single interface rather than making our agents go all over the place to get that information for the customer, which takes time and frustrates. And we know, I think, that customers these days are more impatient than they used to be. They're expecting things a lot quicker. They're expecting answers, and they're expecting to be dealt with in a very sort of efficient and effective manner. So does this mean that in our contact centres we need to employ super agents? So we're going to have a little audience poll to have a think about what sort of skills now does the agent of today need?
Yeah, so the question is, what skills are we looking for in our agents? If you'd like to select the top 3, is it product knowledge, friendliness, empathy, rapport building, spelling and grammar, or speed? So product knowledge, friendliness, empathy, rapport building, spelling and grammar, or speed. So if you'd like to select what you think are the top 3 attributes for agents, let's have a look at the results. Some quite interesting findings here. Empathy and rapport building comes up top, which is excellent. Product knowledge next. Friendliness comes up third. Still a surprising 42% looking for speed in getting through things, and only 22% are looking at spelling and grammar. I wonder if that's going to change in the future. So does that tie in with what your expectations?
Yes. So so if we hand back, we've got a list of things from. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to show my screen again. Bear with me.
There we are.
Okay. So a lot of you have probably heard of Dr. Nicola Millard. So she's a futurologist at BT, and she looked at what the anatomy of a contact center advisor was going to be in the future, and looked at all of those skills that they're going to need. And I think if you look here, it's about somebody who can multitask, who's knowledgeable, who can listen, who can be empathetic, communication, but resilient and handle high cognitive load. So that's about people that can deal with lots of different complex scenarios that might come in. And I think actually one of the audience said earlier, sort of let the customer deal with easy things, self-serve. So when they come through to the contact centre, actually it's for complex inquiries, and that's exactly what the sort of agent of tomorrow will need to be able to deal with, is those more complicated inquiries. So they need to be problem solvers and have that sort of can-do attitude. So, so yes, I think the agent of the future is going to be very much an all-round sort of genius, really, to be able to deal with all those things. I always think that the contact centre agent already has the most difficult job out of anybody in the organisation. It's just been made even more difficult. So that's why we need to do what we can to.
It looks quite interesting because almost those characteristics you're displaying there are almost the opposite of what you'd expect a robot to be able to do, where perhaps the robot might be able to do multiple tasks, but most of the others are skills that robots are not particularly good at.
Yes, and actually that sort of listening and empathetic side, but also sort of handling the high cognitive load. Okay, that might be a robotic thing, but actually you need to have empathy when you do that, and you need to be able to communicate. So I think the contact center agent clearly has to have a very diverse range of skills to be able to manage those interactions. So let's look at sort of the sort of self-serve element, which we've talked about previously. And they say that the easiest customers to deal with are the ones that never have to contact you. So, so when we look at self-service, I mean, what we're actually looking at is, offering the customers access to our own knowledge base. So if we've provided a knowledge base to the agents with all of the answers to the questions, why don't we actually then just get that out to the customers too, so that they can ask those same questions and get the same answers. And it's about consistency as well. So whatever you provide to your customers must be the same as you're providing to your agents, so that you have a consistent experience and the same answers. So this is Mothercare here, who are sort of in their contact us, have got their top frequently asked questions, and you can type in your question and the answers get popped up. I mean, we're all used to using sort of things like sort of TripAdvisor these days to get information about an organisation. But what can this actually do for your organisation? Well, it does reduce contact centre calls by about 30% if you implement it correctly. And then a 40% reduction in calls to a store's helpline, 47% reduction in new staff training time, and you get a return on your investment within about 12 weeks. So that would seem to be a very cost-effective thing to put in. But it's also about making things simple for your customer base when you are putting in self-service. So an example of this, when I was actually at work in a borough council, was we were automating our bus pass renewal process. So we had 12,500 OAPs that we were providing a bus pass to, and clearly to have an additional 12,500 people phoning us over a few-day period was going to be very challenging for the contact centre. So we thought, well, actually, we could automate this and get them to renew online. Now, anybody that's over 65, they told us we were mad because this was a demographic that would never go online. But actually, we made it very simple for them. We gave them very, very clear instructions. We gave them a step-by-step guide as to what they would need to do when they renewed their bus pass. And as a result of that, 94% of those 12,500 people renewed online, which is a phenomenal. I mean, we were hoping for about 70%. So to get 94% to renew online was absolutely staggering. And it meant that the 6% that did actually phone through to us were really needing our help. And so make it easy for those that can, so that you can help those that can't.
Well, I'm afraid that that's all we've got time for currently. So thank you very much for that, Sarah. We've reached the top of the hour now. So if in the chat room you could just say in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about today's webinar? You can watch the replay and access the slides. That's through callcenterhelper.com/recorded webinars, and just reminds for me to say thank you to our speakers. Jerry, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Johnny. It was a pleasure.
And for Sarah, thank you for joining us as well.